Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living in Portland, Oregon. Listen past the end of to find out more about our spiritual center and ways that you may collaborate with us. Good morning, and welcome to the Portland Center for Spiritual Living. Wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are most welcome here. All that we ask is that you're open to perhaps changing your entire life simply by changing your mind. I'm Reverend Larry King. I'm the senior minister here, and just Sunday blessings, everyone. I do have a few announcements to get us started. First off, most of you know, in fact, most of you are probably listening to our Facebook live broadcast. It's every Sunday at 11 a.m. on our Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search for CSL Portland. We also offer Wednesday meditations on Zoom at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Those are always announced on our website at cslportland.org. You can always go to our website, and whatever the next service is or the next program, we always list them right on our front page. So again, this Wednesday at 7 p.m., and all the details for joining us via Zoom teleconferencing will be on the website. We also offer, I offer lunch with Reverend Larry on Fridays, and no, sadly, lunch won't magically show up your door, but we do usually have some lively discussions and a check-in. We talk a little bit about some spiritual principles and perhaps what's going on in the world. So that's Fridays at 11:30 a.m., also using Zoom technology. Again, you can look it up on the website, and it'll have the links and the passwords for getting in. You know, one of the things that I know is difficult right now is juggling all the where do I have to click and where do I have to go on the internet to keep informed about what's going on. And I just always recommend two things. One, our website at cslportland.org. But you know, another handy thing is if you're on our mailing list, once a week, you'll get all of the activities delivered right into your inbox in email, and it has the links. You can just click on them, whether you want to join us on Facebook on Sunday or a Wednesday meditation or any of our other activities. From there, you can just click on links. Now, if you're not on our email list, just go to our website, cslportland.org. On the right-hand side panel, down towards the bottom, you can easily just type in your name and your email address, and then you'll all be set. Okay. Well, I think that's probably enough of announcements. Other than I wanted to acknowledge Katrina Jacobs for our lovely floral arrangement today. And I also wanted to acknowledge our prelude music, a beautiful piece by Ken Brewer, one of his original compositions. As well, I think if you tuned in early, you might have also heard the Pickled Peppers Band, one of our alternatives to the house band. Anyway, so glad you're here today, and I want to start off with a meditation. So this particular meditation is not of my design. It's an Indian tradition from one of the spiritual teachings in India, and it's called Panchakosha. I looked up the word, and what it means is nestled shells or layers. And so the idea of it is we're going to peel off some of the layers of our human existence in order to find that more inner grace, that inner sense of truth and wisdom. So I invite you to just sit quietly and comfortably as we go into this idea of Panchakosha. So close your eyes. Maybe just start with taking a deep breath in and let it go. Take another deep breath in. And let it go. Just rest easily as you continue to breathe. We breathe in. and we breathe out. To start with, let's become aware of the noises in our environment. In the silence of meditation, just notice the odd little noises going on in your house or your apartment. Can you hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen? Or maybe you have a fan or an air conditioner going. Just see if you can notice those little noises, street noises perhaps, out your window. Maybe the noise of the people who live upstairs or downstairs. Just accept all of these noises in your environment, the life around you. Just bless them and accept them. This is part of life. You are now in harmony with your environment. Now we start to become aware of our body. This body is a precious gift given by God and nature itself. Just take a moment to love your body. It is the divine temple that houses your soul. Start by becoming aware of your feet. Wiggle your toes if you like. Notice your feet in your shoes or your slippers. Flex them gently. Just acknowledge your feet. Your feet carry you where you need to go. Your feet provide that connection and grounding. Now become aware of your knees. Can you sense the clothing rubbing against your knees? Can you feel the little hairs on them maybe brushing against your clothes? Moving up, become aware of your thighs. One of the strongest muscles we have to carry us forward in life. Try flexing your thigh muscles and feel the strength there, the power there. What an amazing thing our bodies are. Moving up, become aware of your stomach, your abdomen. That place where digestion and elimination is sourced. What a blessing to be able to take in the nourishment from our food, from the world around us. Sense any tightness in our stomach. And just relax it. Now become aware of your chest. The chest is where we harbor a lot of tension sometimes, the tightness in the chest that's associated with worry or fear. Just notice if your chest is tight, or if you have that sense of worry or dread that's locked up in those muscles. Maybe take a bit of a deeper breath in your chest and notice that you can relax those muscles. With another breath, just allow any tension in your chest and your lungs. Just allow it to fade. This is the area where we take in the nourishment from the air and process it into oxygen for the use of our cells and our bodies. We bless our chest, we bless our lungs, we bless that life-giving oxygen. Moving up again, we become aware of our shoulders. This too is a place where often we may hold tension or tightness. Sometimes our shoulders are clear up next to our ears, held there by discomfort and tension. Allow yourself a moment to just relax those muscles. Feel your shoulders drop down to their natural position. This is a place of peace, a place of harmony. No need for that tension in this moment. Just relax. Now become aware of your arms and your hands. Flex your fingers if you like. Notice your hands resting in your lap. These are those tools we reach out to the world with in kindness, in compassion. These are the tools we use to bring love back to us and to give it out. We bless our hands, just allowing them to be. And then we move up to our arms. Whether we're reaching out in love or reaching out to receive, what a blessing these arms are. Just notice them. Just reflect upon what a blessing they are. And now we move up to our neck. That supportive part of our body that holds us erect as part of our spine, allowing us to have our head positioned where we get a good view of things. Notice any tightness in our neck and relax those muscles involved if you need to. Now become aware of your face and your head. The face, that part of us that we like to think represents who we are. But of course it too is just part of this body. No more a part of who we are than our hands or other parts. But it is the part of us that has our expressions, that conveys our feelings and our sense of being. Just notice that it too is relaxed. Can you notice if your scalp is tight or loose? Just sense the other muscles in your face and in your head. Loosen any tightness and be at ease. And so now just scan your entire body, become aware of this physical nature of your being. Just scan it for any additional tightness or discomfort and loosen those muscles. And now, become aware of your thoughts. Whether good or bad, accept the thoughts drifting through your mind just as they are. Do not resist any of your thoughts. Just allow them to drift in and drift out. We're said to have tens of thousands of thoughts every day, and they pass even as the weather in Oregon passes on a spring day. They come in and they move out. No harm and no foul. We just accept our thoughts as they are. You are now in harmony with your thoughts. I now invite you to become aware of your feelings. Whether pleasant or unpleasant, just accept your feelings as they are. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're looking forward to today's talk. Maybe you have plans ahead and are feeling anxious about them. Just notice your feelings. Is it contentment? Is it peace? Whether pleasant or unpleasant, just accept your feelings as they are. You are now in harmony with your feelings. And now we have peeled away all of the shells, all of the layers of our humanness. And what is left behind is the divine. You are peace. You are joy. You are love. You are life itself. You are beauty. You are wholeness. You are the abundance of the universe. You are light. This is the place of the most holy. This is our innermost being. Here is the place we are one with Spirit, where we represent God in its true spiritual nature. Of course, it is time to move back out into the outer realms, passing back through the shelves of the divine into our human nature. And so once again, become aware of your feelings. Just notice how you're resting and what you think about it. What are you looking forward to? How does your heart feel right now? Once again, become aware of your thoughts drifting in and out. What are you thinking about right now? Just bless it. Once again, become aware of your body. Just notice yourself resting in the chair, hands at your side or in your lap. Feel your feet on the ground. Just become aware of your presence in this spacesuit we call a body. Take a deep breath in and let it go. Take another deep breath in and let it go. Listen to all the noises in your environment. Once again, can you pick out that fan running or the little bits of traffic noises or noises from neighbors? This is the world that we live in. We bless it. We know it has no effect on us unless we allow it to. So just listen for a moment to all the noises in your environment and bless them. Let us take another deep breath in and out. One more deep breath in and out. And when you are ready and in your own time, you may open your eyes. Again, that was the East Indian meditation called Panchakosha, and I hope you enjoyed it today. Next up, we have some lovely pre-recorded video and music from LaRhonda Steele and our friends band. They're going to be singing a piece written by Marci Beck, one of our licensed practitioners. It's called I'll Take the Next Step. Here's LaRhonda Steele and the Friends Band.
Good morning from the Portland Center for Spiritual Living. I am LaRhonda Steele, and this morning I am with Don Schultz on drums, Jim Solberg on bass, and on keys this morning we have Mr. Ken Brewer, and it's Ken's birthday. Yay! Happy birthday, Ken. We love you. This morning's musical offering is a song written by our own practitioner, Miss Marci Beck, and the song is called I'll Take the Next Step. I'll take the next step and keep on walking. I know I'm ready for something new. There are no mountains, there are no valleys. There's just the next step, and I'll see it through. The next step and the next step. There's something better. There's something new. My soul is willing. My heart is open. I'll take the next step and see it through. It doesn't matter what roads I've taken or where I traveled to get me here. It only matters that in this moment I'll take the next step to see it through. Oh, the next step and the next step. There's something better. There's something new. My soul is willing. My heart is open. I'll take the next step and see it through. So take the next step and the next step. There's something better that waits for you. Our souls are willing. Our heart is open. Just take the next step and see it through. I'll take the next step and see it through. Blessings.
Thank you, LaRhonda Steele, and thank you, Friends Band. What a blessing to have our musical team. Last month, you might remember we used some of New Thought's most prominent authors to help us achieve personal success in our lives. We covered a number of spiritual principles and practices really designed to bring success, to foster success for us in any area of our lives that we chose. However, you'll also remember last week we talked about a couple gotchas. We talked about a couple of the reasons why we might not be as successful as we could be. And one of the high reasons on our list, if you'll remember, chief among these reasons, are our habits. And chief among our negative habits is the habit of fear. Now, we often think of fear as an emotion rather than a habit, but I direct any of us to think back perhaps on 9/11 and the just climate of fear that was in our country right now. Some of us are feeling that fear or that sense of dread with the pandemic sweeping across the world right now. So there can be, as well as an emotion of fear, there can be a habit of it, a climate of it, in which we feel ourselves immersed. Well, anytime through whatever kind of habit our heart becomes closed, of course, that is going to have that action of keeping our good from us. It is through the open heart that we receive our good, and when our heart is closed due to fear or victimhood, due to feelings of lack or that sense of just not knowing what to do, that sense of dread of what tomorrow may bring, sadly, it limits our possibilities. It limits our ability to use spiritual principles to create a better life. So this month, we're going to be using Pema Chodron's book, Taking the Leap, for inspiration. This book was designed to free us from unwanted habits, to free us from our attachments to fear, lack, and victimhood. And I wanted to just read a tiny bit from oh my gosh, the print is very small, but I wanted to read you just a little bit from the dust jacket here. Ever feel trapped in the same old habits and painful emotions time and time again? These patterns that we all face, sometimes they feel impossible to shake. So how can we get unstuck? Drawing on time-honored Buddhist teachings on Shempa, all of the attachments and compulsions that cause us suffering, Pema Chodron shows us how certain habits of mind tend to hook us and get us stuck in states of anger, blame, self-hatred, addiction, and so many other negative emotions. Pema shares insights and exercises from her lifetime of practice that we can immediately put to use to take a bold leap towards a new way of being, one that will bring about positive transformations for ourselves as well as the entire world. So that's where we're headed this month, and I think it's just the antidote to some of the things that are plaguing us both out in the world and the heaviness that we're feeling in our hearts. So where do I want to start today? You may have noticed that the talk title today is Feeding the Right Wolf, and so I better wade right in and explain that up. What's this about feeding wolves? It sounds like a dangerous proposition, right? Well, this comes from a story of a Native American gentleman and his son that was fairly widely circulated shortly after the tragedy of 9/11 when the Twin Towers were brought down by terrorists. And the story is that they were watching the news, and a grandson asked his Native American father, what was going on? How could the world be so cruel? How could people treat each other with such disregard? How could something like terrorism even exist in the world? And his grandfather had to think about this. Being Native American, of course, great injustices had been done to the grandfather's family and through his lineage. And he had to really think about it for a moment. Was there a justification in terrorism? Is there a proper violent reaction when things are not as they should be? Well, after much thought, he told the youngster, it's like having two wolves fighting for control of his heart. And one wolf was compassionate, thoughtful, caring. One wolf was willing to not only see for the safety of his own pack, but for all living beings. One wolf willing to forgive others. One wolf always willing to extend compassion and friendship to others. But the other wolf was reactive and hurtful. The other wolf saw trauma in the world and thought it was appropriate to lash out. This wolf wanted revenge. This wolf wanted to be made right in the world and to see that the indignities and wrongs done to it would be avenged. Well, the grandchild asked grandfather, which wolf would win in control of grandfather's heart? And the grandfather said, "The wolf that I feed." And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. I think each of us within us has both the capability of great compassion, the ability to have an open heart and collaborate with others to bring about lasting change in the world. And right inside us as well is that angry wolf that wants to lash out at injustice. The angry wolf that is slow to forgive and quick to wishing even violence in order to prove a point or to become victorious. And so today we're going to talk about feeding the right wolf. We're going to be talking about feeding that wolf of compassion, that wolf of possibility, that wolf of thoughtfulness and caring. And we're going to be taking this idea of Buddhist tradition to walk through it. You know, another place, though, I want to start is with a joke. And I thought I would do something, well, I hope you'll enjoy it this month. Many of you are aware that one of my folk heroes is Mullah Nasruddin. So in many ancient traditions, of course, the holy fool or the fool as a wise person is a figure in many of our religious and wisdom traditions. Now, the great holy fool from the Muslim Sufi tradition is Mullah Nasruddin. And so throughout June, I'll be featuring a Mullah Nasruddin story each week. Honestly, they're some of my favorites, and I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I do. So this week's story comes after an invading army had subjugated Nasruddin's small town in what would later become modern-day Turkey. One of the new conquerors was riding by in a fine carriage and spotted Nasruddin in his simple sandals and a worn jacket. He leaned out of the carriage to talk with Nasruddin. "You there, what's a slave worth in this town? If I were a slave, how much would I be worth?" Well, Mullah Nasruddin eyed the rich man in his fine carriage and resplendent robes. $500, Nasruddin responded. "What?" the conqueror shouted. "What a fool! Why, just the clothes I'm wearing right now are worth at least $500. "I know," replied Nasruddin. "The cost of the clothes was factored in." And so, of course, the question that this story offers up is, how do we judge things? Do we judge by appearances? Do we judge by the outer part of people, or are we willing to go to that inner journey? Are we willing to feed the right wolf, the wolf of compassion, the wolf that is willing to forgive, the wolf that is willing to see beyond the color of our skin, the clothes we wear, the neighborhoods that we were brought up in? How might we approach equanimity truly for all? Well, feeding the good wolf, according to Pema Chodron, we have to align ourselves with three human qualities. And she claims, and I think it's true, that all three of these qualities exist in all of us. It's just the degree to which they're expressed. The first quality that she talks about is natural warmth. And this is the part of the good wolf that we feed that allows compassion, that warmth of our character, that willingness to help other people, to collaborate with other people, the willingness for us perhaps even to go out of our way to see another point of view. The willingness to nurture the people around us, and not only just the members of our own family, but to nurture others perhaps less fortunate, or people who have been sidelined, or whose voice is not being heard. This natural voice means the desire to have companionship and love, not only for our family, but for all peoples. And the Nasruddin story, of course, is highlighting the absence of natural warmth. When we may treat people as though they were slaves, when we may treat other people with disregard to their own humanity. And so how can we feed that wolf? Well, of course, it does require getting out of our comfort zone. We're used to being extra kind, extra compassionate to the people who are like us, to the people in our families and in our close-by communities. And so it does require us, in feeding this part of the good wolf, to step outside our comfort zones, to notice that other people are hurting and can use a helping hand, to make sure that we include in our efforts at collaboration people who aren't just like us, but the full spectrum of voices to be heard. That's how we feed the good wolf in terms of natural warmth. The next characteristic, the human characteristic that Pema Chodron says becomes this element of the good wolf is our natural openness. And have you ever noticed that children are just totally fearless about asking questions? That natural curiosity that young children see are the key to this idea of our human natural openness. The idea of being open is not only to be open to new opinions and new ways of being, but that natural curiosity of wanting to find out more about other people, an interest in knowing how other people live and their situation, an interest in world politics and the safety of the world, as well as just what's going on in your own home or your own town. It is that natural openness of spaces, too, the willingness to take a pause. And in fact, for many pages in the first chapter of this book, Pema Chodron talks about the necessity for taking that pause, that openness even in our ideas, so that when we're faced with a strong emotion or when something happens that just doesn't feel right, we don't immediately lash out or act out. Instead, we have an openness even around our emotions. What am I feeling right now? Is it helpful? Is it appropriate? Is it something that I want to endorse? Or is it something that I want to have second thoughts about? Is there that openness in my own thinking process that will allow me to take that pause? I can still remember when I was a kid, from the very earliest ages, I know I was a pretty active kid and not always very obedient or thoughtful. And I remember my mom got into the habit of holding up a finger. And what I knew when she would hold up her index finger was I was supposed to count to 10. And you know what? I think Pema Chodron would have approved of that approach, except maybe not for children, maybe for adults. Before we respond in anger or indignation, before we lash out at someone, and when I say lash out, I don't necessarily even mean in some physical or negative way, but lashing out just with our tongue to refute what someone has said or to deny someone else's voice. Here is where I think Pema Chodron would put the finger up, so to speak, and say maybe an openness is required here, an openness to hearing the other opinion, a literal openness in the dialogue to pause and to think about how I want to respond. Do I want to feed the good wolf? Do I want to have compassion for someone else's opinion? Am I willingness to be curious, that openness of curiosity, to really listen and find out what's going on with the other person? If I need to mount a defense, I always have the time to do that later on, but it may be difficult to take back words spoken in haste, actions taken when our emotions are high. And so taking that pause, allowing the openness for a different opinion, a different way of being, makes all the difference. That is one of the ways that we feed the good wolf. Well, the last quality of humanity that Pema Chodron talks about, she talks about the idea of natural intelligence. Now, a lot of times we don't always feel very naturally intelligent, do we? Especially when we're put on the spot, especially when we're asked at the spur of the moment what our beliefs are, or maybe we're in a position where someone has said the most outrageous thing. and we're expected to respond in some intelligent way. Have you ever in your own mind replayed a conversation like the next day or the next week or maybe a year later and said to yourself, oh my God, if only I had thought through this, if only I had been smart enough in that moment to have said the intelligent thing, the smart thing. Well, this idea of natural intelligence that Pema Chodron is talking about simply illustrates that if we back away from our strong emotions, from being stuck, from being in a reactive mode, then our natural intelligence is available to us. When we're not feeling the victim, when we're not, perhaps in that mode of being angry as a reaction, she says that natural intelligence will be ours, that we will have that ability to puzzle through any kind of difficult situation and come up with an answer that is intelligent, that is powerful. It only requires us to put aside perhaps a negative reaction, a negative first reaction, and allow our natural intelligence to provide us with an answer. Well, I put this in my own life to the test the other day. As many of you who are aware, of course, you may be watching this video a long time in the future, I don't know. But what's going on in America right now, we're seeing that Americans in general are no longer willing to see our African American brothers and sisters subjugated, that uncalled for police violence is up for healing right now, and the notice of disparity between black lives and white lives exists. And so I thought to myself, Pema, if you're right, let me put some of my natural intelligence to this issue. You know, what can I do to be a white ally? Not just to be one in my philosophy, but how can I actually take steps to be a white ally? Well, one of the things that was up for me, or one of the things that I had noticed and wanted to do a little research, was the disparity between black incomes and white incomes. And if I had an audience of a full audience of people here, I would ask you to raise your hands and tell me if you can guess the percentage difference between the net worth of an average white family and an average black family in America right now. And I know, I'm just going to imagine, I know a hand would come up and say, well, I bet white people on average are 25% have a net worth, a white family, 25% higher than a black family. And then I might see it, so I'd be shaking my head, no, that's not quite it. And then another hand would pop up and someone would say, is it as much as 50%? Does the average white family have 50% more net worth than the average black family? I wish I could start nodding. The numbers are stunning. This was an update simply from earlier this year in February. They did a survey, of course, of an economic survey of black and white families. The average white family in America has a net worth that is 10 times higher than the average black family. And so this was swirling around in my head. Well, of course we should object to that. Of course, to feed the good wolf, I want to use not only my compassion, not only that natural warmth and openness, but also my intelligence. And so I put myself to the task. What could I begin to do to shift some of the wealth of America into this less served population, into this group of people and families, my neighbors literally, that in general are so oppressed? Well, it occurred to me that literally where I spend my money should be where my heart goes. And right now, in the midst of this global pandemic, of course, I'm getting tired of my own cooking. The restaurants here in Portland, Oregon, have been closed for everything but takeout now for months. And it occurred to me, am I even using my dollars to make sure that the minority-owned restaurants, are active and vibrant and will continue in this town. And I had to acknowledge, not so much. And so with only a little bit of using this natural intelligence in me, I managed to find lists of minority-owned restaurants, some of the, especially the featured African-American-owned restaurants in town. There was even an article towards the end of last year really highlighting some of the amazing and delicious and caring minority-owned restaurants. They had sponsored sort of a progressive dinner, inviting people to go to a variety of different restaurants. And so I bookmarked those web pages. In fact, if you go to cslportland.org and look under our social justice page, you'll see that I captured that, hoping other people will take advantage of this as well. You see, it is through the small kindnesses, that feeding the natural warmth, that using our natural openness and curiosity. It is the natural intelligence that comes to bear when truly we wish to be helpful, when we wish to collaborate, when we wish to make a difference, not acting out of fear and not in our old habits. You noticed part of my solution here, at least for me, a way to start out in shifting some of my income over to the minority community that really can use it. Part of that is me shifting out of my patterns. Part of that is me being willing to put my money where my mouth is. And so I'll summarize today what we've learned. We've talked about our negative mental habits. We've talked about how they can hold us back and hold, in fact, the universe back when we're feeding that angry wolf, when we're feeding the wolf of negativity, when we're feeding the wolf that inappropriately sees people not like ourselves as the enemy or someone that needs to be protected against. And instead, we've learned some of the three main ways that we can use our natural capabilities as humans to feed the right wolf. We'll use our natural warmth, that idea of love, that idea of willingness to extend our hand in friendship. We'll use that compassion and that collaborative nature that's in all humans to feed the wolf in that way. We're also going to use our natural openness, our natural curiosity. How do different people live differently? Are they in economic trouble, as we've seen with the average black family in America right now? Only 10% of the household net worth as their white neighbors. You know, what can we do to be open and find out the truth about what's going on in our world? And then finally, the third of these good wolf qualities, our natural intelligence. When we put aside our fears, when we put aside some of our habits, we can allow our natural intelligence to come up with ways to make a difference in the world. All right, on to homework. You knew there'd be a bit of homework. So pick a problem that you are facing, or maybe that the world is facing. You can start small, maybe a problem just going on right now in your own family. And then what I'd like you to do is consciously feed the right wolf. Use your natural openness, your natural warmth, and your natural intelligence to overcome the status quo. So right now, the reason you're facing some kind of a problem is that people are stuck in their old habits. And so let you be the first one to put aside maybe some of your current thoughts, some of your current ways of being, and support the good wolf that wishes to collaborate. Support the good wolf that extends the hand once again in friendship and in compassion. Be the good wolf who's willing to allow for that openness of the pause and not be reactive. So that's your homework for this week. I'm going to close today with a quote from Pema Chodron and a prayer. So this is how she closes this chapter called Feeding the Right Wolf. She says to honestly face the pain in our lives and the problems in the world, let's start by looking compassionately and honestly at our own minds. We can become intimate with the mind of hatred, the mind that polarizes, the mind that makes everyone else the other, that bad and wrong mind. We come to know unflinchingly and with great kindness the angry, unforgiving, hostile wolf. And instead, over time, that part of ourselves becomes familiar, but we no longer feed it. Instead, we make the choice to nurture openness, intelligence, and warmth. This choice and the attitudes and actions that follow from it are like a medicine that has the potential to end all suffering. Let us pray. There is one power and one presence, one life, one consciousness. There's only this one thing that I choose to call God. And what I know about God is that it is every good thing. It is love. It is abundance. It is joy. It is peace. It is wholeness. It is beauty. It is life itself. And because it is all these things and everywhere present, I know those same qualities of God are available to me. That my connection to Spirit allows me to access these qualities of the good wolf always. And so I make choices based on compassion and warmth. I make choices based on that openness and taking the time to really consider what comes out of my mouth and the choices that I make. I use my native intelligence, my natural intelligence, to make choices that not only benefit me, but benefit humankind, that allow me to move beyond some of the habits that just support the status quo and change my life in ways that benefit everybody, especially reaching out a hand to the disenfranchised, the people who have been left behind, the people whose voices so desperately wish to be heard. And so for this knowledge and this ability to feed the good wolf, I give great thanks. I recognize in gratitude that the world changes as I change myself. And so I release this prayer into the activity, into the action of the law itself. I let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Now is our time of conscious giving, and I invite you to take your gift or your tithe. I know many of you are heading for a screen or a phone to maybe donate online. CSLportland.org is our website, and at the bottom of every one of our web pages is a little donate button. We try to make it easy for you. So repeat after me if you would. Graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. So I'm going to close today with another prayer. You know, hearing about the tradition of the good and bad wolf from the Native American after the tragedy of 9/11, I was reminded of another Native American, Chief Yellow Hawk. So let me give you just the tiniest bit of a history lesson around Chief Yellow Hawk, and then I'll read his prayer. Chief Yellow Hawk was a leader of the Cheyenne River Sioux, and he's perhaps most famous for negotiating the Treaty of Fort Laramie. Now, can you imagine the position he was put in? So this treaty allowed land to be set aside for the permanent use of the Sioux Nation, and yet at the same time, it gave up their native use of their native lands elsewhere. Can you imagine the position that Chief Yellow Hawk was put in, having perhaps to do the right thing by setting aside part of the Black Hills from further seizure by the United States government, and yet at the same time, this treaty allowing so much of the native lands to be taken over by white settlers? Anyway, I wanted to share this beautiful prayer of his in closing today. And following the prayer, too, we're going to have a little addition. We're going to be having a licensed practitioner, Sylvia, give another one of her prayers. So this is the prayer called At a Fading Sunset by Chief Yellow Hawk. He says, O great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, and whose breath gives life to all the world, please hear me. I come before you, one of your children. Today I feel small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things that you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may know the things you have taught my people, and the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and every rock. I seek strength not to be superior to my brothers, but to be able to fight the greatest enemy, myself. Make me ever ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so that when life fades as a fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. And so it is. Thank you all for being here today. Many blessings for the week ahead.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Kearns. I'm a licensed practitioner at Portland Center for Spiritual Living in Portland, Oregon. And today I would like to read out of one of my favorite books, Mark Nepo, 7,000 Ways to Listen. I don't know about y'all, but to me, during this time of a great pause, I've been called upon to listen. Listen to my heart. Listen to people that love me. And listen for what is mine to do. So I will share this story from Mark Nepo because I truly love this story. The One Breath. In the 1100s, the mystic Hildegard of Bingen defined prayer as breathing in and breathing out the one breath of the universe. This is listening with our entire being. It speaks to an immersion of attention that all the traditions aspire to, each claiming in its own way that peace resides in this completeness which arises when our individual sense of being merges with the ongoing stream of being that is the heartbeat of the universe. Wow. Whether those moments arise from great stillness or great suffering or great love, they all seem unexpected and seem to depend on our ability to hold nothing back. All the traditions suggest that breathing, the one breath, is our deepest home. We each have at least 2 moments of such completeness during our first breath at birth and on our last breath at death. How often we stumble into this completeness of being during our time on earth depends on our journey and our willingness to enter it. In an effort to enter my own journey, I spent 2 weeks meditating daily on Hildegard's one breath. And somewhere in the second week, I had a dream in which a breath at birth met the breath at death. In the dream, I was sitting in an open field without speaking for days. Finally, I began to wander. I came upon a huge tree to find Buddha beneath it. I could tell that many had come upon him in this way. He was just waking from a very long sleep, and I happened upon him the instant he awakened. A light filled his face as he sighed. As I moved closer, he changed into a dying boy. That was alarming. As I put my hand on the tree it turned into a fence of wire in Auschwitz. And the small boy, just as the Buddha, was sighing his last breath, which clouded in the cold. In the days that followed, I kept breathing the one breath of the universe, quietly thinking of Buddha waking and the little boy dying. I feel certain they both live in me, in you. We are both waking and dying in every moment, an inner form of day and night. Now I listen for Buddha waken and the little boy dying in the faces of strangers and friends tired enough to slow their breathing to the one breath that lifts us all. And that may seem a bit of a sad story, but it is so powerful. Often we start meditations with that taking a breath. It truly is, as he said in the very first sentence, breathing in and breathing out the one breath of the universe. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day.
If you happen to be in the Portland, Oregon area, we'd love to have you visit in person. The Portland Center for Spiritual Living is located at 6211 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We have inspirational services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. every Sunday. We also have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. We have a variety of content dedicated specifically for our online listeners. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Our website is also the place to learn more about what's going on at the center or to contact us. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.